Welcome to the Better Body, Better Life podcast. Today we have one of our Rockstar members, Tony, on the show today, who's a happy farming dad, is one of the best ways to describe him. But it's a pleasure to have you on board. How are we doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, man. And I appreciate the high praise. I try to be a high performing dad.
100%. You've actually, one thing I actually kind of wanted to start with was because you said to me a while back, I think it was a month or two ago, and you said such a good thing to me. It was like, you want to be the best dad you can be, in a sense. And you said one of our one to one calls. What does that look like for you, just in your words and your experience?
Yeah, sure. So, guess like one of one of the things I feel like I need to answer this question is to go back a little bit. I think just kind of explain where my fitness journey started. Probably is best described like I got into fitness when I joined the police department in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that was like, I know a lot of your listeners are in the UK. So for people who don't know, that's like a pretty large metropolitan area in North Carolina on the east coast of the US. And I really got introduced to what intensity is working out. The instructors were big into CrossFit, and I think that was one of the best things I could learn. But to kind of like, now answer your question, I want to be the healthiest possible dad I can be. So I have two kids. I want to be able to deadlift. I want to be able to squat, and I want to be able to run fast and look pretty good doing all that stuff. And always be able to keep up with my kids. Always be the best dad that I can be. And for me, like aesthetics isn't a huge part of that, or I should say it is a part of that, but minimally so. I'm really looking to like I want to look decent, but I don't want to make that my main focus on any given day. And I think like two, I think I tend to get bored and like that option of like, oh, hey, I'm going to do kind of like a CrossFit Metcon, or hey, I'm going to go in the gym and bodybuild more, or like really work on hypertrophy. Like I enjoy that, and that's kind of, I guess, in a nutshell. I hope that answers the question.
It's like the be able to do everything when you want with who you want kind of style. Is like you get to have it all. So if you want to run, you can run. If you want to lift, you can lift. If you want to look good and take your top off, you can look good and take your top off. So it's like kind of the perfect trifecta, you can say, which I love. It's
Right.
to some degree, it's good to have a period where you have singularity of focus, but also like the end goal is to be able to do what you want, whatever you want, with who you want. And fitness is like a medium where you can bring all things together, which is quite epic. For yourself, like taking things back to then, you've been working together for almost coming up to a year now. What's been the biggest change you've seen with yourself mentally, physically across the board? Where were you back then? Where are you now? What's been the main difference you've noticed for yourself?
I think I know I've said this to you multiple times, but excuse me. I think the biggest thing is just having someone else that's dedicated to talking stuff over with you and like having that accountability partner in a way. Um, like obviously, I feel like I'm a pretty high drive person. Like I before you and I connected, I was working out probably like at least 4 times a week, and I was eating pretty decent. I think though, like when you have someone that's like, hey, I'm here to be your backup, so to speak, like you can get that honest opinion of, hey, like, you know, we need to refocus a little bit, or like I'm not saying you're not someone who's like going to be like, hey, you look like crap, you know what I mean? Or like you'll be honest, but I think you're good in helping me focus. And like you can look over my macros, you can look over like where our training is, where my lifts are, and you can say, hey, like we need to kind of focus on this maybe. What do you think? And you've always been a really good partner and someone like who's come alongside me and said, hey, let's focus on this. Like if you're not feeling tracking the macros right now, like let's focus on the flexibility and performance. Like like you won't let me just slide off into the Netherlands of like nowhere goals. You know what I mean? Like you'll keep me somewhat focused and keep me on like, hey, okay, like I hear you. You don't want to track right now, but like let's work on like some deadlifts numbers. Like let's work on your bench press numbers. Like you're not gonna let me just sink off or like have nothing in my mind of something to focus on.
I love the phrase you said there about like it's kind of like the way I like to kind of think of like discipline versus motivation. The whole people think they need discipline to do the gym, but I think you need alignment. Like you need to be aligned towards the goal, and like you need to look at what would I do to get to this goal and what would I not do at the same time. So like this period we've gone through together, these next 3 months, we're actually not tracking numbers in terms of calories and macros, weighing towards performance and getting you like training really hard and intent and diet flexibly. Then in the new year we had like some intentions where I said actually let's shred down a little bit, but we kind of know the goalpost is different and it's all aligned with the piece at the back of it. So like I've actually had a conversation with my coach yesterday with my chancellor, but almost in the same piece where it's like actually right now this is what I want, this is the future plans. Can we align that together so I don't feel like I have to rely on motivation and discipline as we align towards a goal I want to do based on the actions I want to contribute and bring to the table? So I think like you kind of don't want to force a square key into a round hole because there's always going to be a case where to really force it in. That way, if you just align and the actions represent the goal, because there's going to be a goal somewhere and that's where we want to piece out, which I love the fact you said already. Your I always like asking this question. What would be your best advice to yourself?
Oh man, it's a good question. Are you talking like in terms of fitness or like is there like
Let's
when you say advice like
future self. What would you have future self to take on yourself over? This could be anything. This could be fitness. This could be routine structure. This could be what elsewhere. I'd love to kind of dive into that. Yeah, what would be
yeah,
what would advice the future self would give you right now?
yeah, one of the things I feel like that's been the best for me in terms of like just building a pretty good physique and a pretty good fitness journey is consistency. And because I think that if I look back on stuff, um, I feel like what's gotten me to where I am in multiple avenues, really, not just fitness, but professional life, being a good dad, all of that stuff, I think is consistency. And I would give that advice to myself or say to stick with that. And then I would give that advice to anyone. I think, any plan that you have that's not like doable on a consistent basis is not gonna give you much fruit. And then like even if you're training something that's like maybe to a programmer or a coach, it might appear suboptimal. Like hey, this isn't the best program. You could be getting more muscle hypertrophy, or you could be getting better calories, better macros. If you're doing a good program, maybe it's not or maybe it's not a prime program, but if you're doing something that you can stay consistent with, I mean, I just feel like it's like drops in the bucket. And over time, if you can get 3 workouts in a week consistently, that's better than you doing 5 or 6 one week and it kills you, and then you drop off the program altogether. I just feel like consistency is a huge piece of advice that anyone can benefit from.
I
That's what
love
I
that.
would probably say.
I love it. But it's funny you say that. It's like, I'm a big believer where like we're creatures of habits and like the habits we do if we're traveling, if we're on the go, the day-to-day structures, like there's something you can be consistent with, and if you can do that with predictability and like a structure that's aligned towards somewhere, you can get to wherever you want to be. It's all about bringing the pieces of the jigsaw together to construct that final piece. And I love the fact you actually mentioned that's the first thing that comes to mind in terms of like the goal. It's like you can do 5 days, but if you can do it consistently, let's do 3. And you're always looking at how can we go the distance with what we're doing rather than having to do that for something that we're going to have to dabble with and dabble out of, which I love.
Yeah. One
Um,
thing, go ahead, sorry.
anyway, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I was going to say one thing I feel like that kind of sticks out in my mind as like a backup to that is I was watching the other day. I'm a huge fan of weightlifting, and Olivia Reeves she was the recent gold medalist from Paris, and she's a U.S. weightlifter, and she was like one of the first to kind of dethrone the North Korean weightlifter, like Chinese weightlifter in her weight class. And like one thing that stuck out to me about her program was that she said that she's generally in the gym for about an hour and a half a day, and she's generally there 3 to 4 hours. Or I mean, I'm sorry, 3 to 4 days a week. And what you hear from a lot of other weightlifting programs is that they have 6, 7, 8, 9 sessions a week, and she's doing like four on. She said that if she's ramping up to a competition, she goes down to three. So like to me, that was just a testament to like consistency over time, and she's been doing it since she's young, right? And so like again, just I know I'm like someone who's just like I'm a dad, and I'm telling you, hey, do consistent stuff, right? That might not hold much weight or much gravity, but like there's athletes out there who are high performing, like Olivia Reeves, who's got a gold medal under her belt, and she's saying, hey, a lot of other people are doing 8, 9 sessions of heavy weightlifting. I'm doing four and performing very high levels. And so I just feel like that's a backup to what I'm saying, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. I love the story in it a lot. It's like the fact she didn't have to do that to get to that where she wants to get to it. It's like it kind of shows me there's like a lot of success that leaves clues. It's like don't follow other people's plans, and it's actually funny because that reminds me of a story from Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. But he actually used to with his coach Tim Brower. He kind of analysed for him if he had like someone may say do something for optimal results, but like Kobe, for example, they would test different things. So they'd have someone one time where they test him, go on a night out and have some fun the day before a big game, go have some alcohol, go sleep less in a sense. And like normally you may hear, right, take your time, get some recovery the night before, have a good night's sleep. That's traditional norms, but like what worked for him is actually getting less sleep and like just go spending time like going to a bar or something, and that allowed him to perform to where he wanted to get to. Basically. So it's more like kind of coming back to what works for you as opposed to like how can I look at the generic trends that's coming out and almost follow those cues. So it's almost like you use that analogy because if someone's doing something, it shows right that is going to leave a clue. Like do what you need to do to get the ball moving as opposed to what someone else tells you to do, which is epic. It's I'd love to dive into like something like non-fitness because I think fitness is like the gateway drug to a better life everywhere. Being someone that you're someone I look up to in a lot of regards, from a father perspective and also from like a you inspire a lot of people that know it just from like your presence. For you, what would be your best advice for people that are fathers themselves that want to be better in life?
Fathers that want to be better. Man, I would say if you're a dad, like just being present is huge. And like that can be, um, you can take that in multiple levels. Like I would say, like not only is it being present, like your actual physical presence, but also like putting your phone down. Like being present in the moment. And I think one thing is like we're all humans, and you're gonna make mistakes. Like I definitely would say like there's times where I lose my temper with my kids when the house is crazy or whatever. Um, but like just being able to be there, realize, hey, I did make a mistake, and like be present, and tell your kids I'm sorry, tell your kids you love them, stuff like that is huge. And I feel like just being present consistently across the board with kids is going to be huge. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there who are like really busy dads, and they hear this and like they're on a Zoom call, like 90% of their day or of their work day, whatever. And like I think like one thing that I'd always kind of like admired about my dad was like there were times where he had stuff going on and he said, hey, look, I can't do this with you right now. But there were times where I remember that he said he would put the phone down and put whatever down and say, yep, let's go do that or whatever. And I would just say being present and being consistently present is, again, is huge, if that makes sense. I know I'm going on about consistency, but I do feel like it's huge.
It shows us a plenty, right? It's like trust is built on consistency as well. So like the same way if you have some days where you show one side of you, the other day the other side of you, it's not to build trust off that. But I love the fact you mentioned it. It's like repeatability and consistency. Like that kind of shows what your biggest values are, which I love.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and Lisa, it's kind of wrapping the podcast. What would be your one thing if you someone like kind of skip to the end, they're just gonna have one little advice from you. what would be something you want to leave the audience with as like your final take point today?
Yeah, I would say like just overall, if obviously if you're listening to this, you're listening to like fitness advice and maybe like some life hacks. I would say just if you're someone who's struggling to get fit, uh, make the jump now. I would say like get up with guys like Urtaza. Like actually make the time and make small steps, right? Like if you're someone who's listening to this and maybe you're like trying to make that next jump into being really fit, and I would say make that jump, get a coach, and take the time to be consistent. Like find a program that works for you, and don't skip leg
I need that T-shirt.
day. Yeah,
Yeah, dude, I love it. It's amazing to have you aboard. This has been a long time coming. I'm so excited for the future for you. I know the best yet to come. So here's some new heights and scale the mountain. It's a pleasure to have you
yeah,
aboard.
man. One other thing I would say is like get out there and do hard stuff too. Like I think that that's underrated. Like last year, Utaza coached me through a half marathon. Like you helped me kind of like work on split times, work and like nutrition for running and stuff. And I mean, like I'm a bigger guy, um, and I tend to like we've talked about this, right? Like I tend to hold a lot of muscle, but I can gain fat easily too. So like running was something I felt like would be good to do that would help balance me. So like, and I was able to get a half marathon like in around a little over 2 hours, and it was a, I thought it was a really good experience, and I would do it again. And I think other people should get out there and
Yeah.
challenge themselves too. You know what I mean?